Assalamu alaikum, I hope you're all doing well. This video is going to be my conversion story. So my conversion to Islam. People always ask me how I found Islam and how I converted. And I'm sometimes a little bit shy and hesitant of telling them the story because it's kind of untraditional and unconventional. It's not like you said a shahada and you just, bam, you were a Muslim and you never look back. But my story is a little bit different. So I like to call it my journey with Islam rather than my journey to Islam, but you're going to see why inshallah in a minute. This is going to be in 3 parts, which is going to be my conversion, my hijab story and my niqab story inshallah, but they're all related, so I recommend you watch them all in order inshallah. So without further ado, let's just get started. I was born and raised in a rather non-practicing Lutheran Christian family. Lutheran Christianity is the main church or main religion in Finland. So I just happened to be Lutheran Christian. But like I said, we were never practicing. I only learned the religion from the school and went to the church on like Christmas and Easter with the school. But we didn't, as a family, we almost never went to the church really. My mom, who raised us by herself, my parents divorced when I was around 5 or 6, and my mom raised us, me and my brother, and she always believed in God. She used to talk about God a little bit. She believed that there was one God and there was no mediation between God and us. So she didn't talk about, like, it's traditional kinda to talk about that there's a Jesus between us and God, and we pray to Jesus and we ask from Jesus a little bit, but we didn't have that. And to me, Jesus was just a prophet and a person back in the day, and God was the one who was giving us everything and who was looking over us. But anyway, my knowledge with about God was like that there was only one God, and that was always instilled in me a little bit. We were not practicing, but sometimes I could see or hear my mom pray when it was a tough time or something. She would pray to God. And sometimes when I was young, I used to pray God to give me like a bicycle or something. I'm gonna pray my rest of my life if you're gonna give me a bicycle. We were a very poor family, so I would ask God to give me these things. But God was not actively in my life. He was just like in conversation, coming and going in our conversation throughout my life. So, but that was the basis of my belief. When I came to the age of around 13 or 14, me and my mom, we started wanting and longing for something spiritual maybe in our lives. She may be more than me at the time. I was more like, I felt that I wanted to belong to some group or have a more spiritual life in some way. But I wasn't actively looking. My mom was doing all the research, but I was kind of like living there organically with her. And for us, we were looking for something more spiritual because from Lutheran, we just didn't find it. It just didn't feel for us something happy. And that's like our personal experiences. This is nothing against Lutheran church or anything like that, but that was just how we felt. That it felt very melancholic for us, or the feel in the church felt very melancholic, and we just didn't connect with the religion itself. We looked around and we found the Eastern Orthodox Church, which is another church in Finland, and it was more happy. It was happier, and it felt like sunnier and that happier joy. Like the Easter was happier event and stuff. And we kind of looked into that, but then there was the issue with icons. Like you have, I don't know what they're called in English, but you have like icons and the pictures of Mary and pictures of the baby Jesus there and stuff, and these things. But then there was that issue, and then there was the Trinity, and we still didn't believe in Trinity. It didn't make sense for us. We didn't find the logic behind that. So it was still there, like there was too much concentration on people rather than Allah, rather than God, really. So that was why it didn't really catch up with us. I was around 12 years old when 9/11 happened. I remember that day very well. We were at my grandparents' house and we watched the news late at night. We watched the news from the TV, and everything just stopped. But after that, even in my family, I never remember hearing any bad things about Muslims or anyone cursing Islam or Muslims. And after that, there was just a lot of confusing programs in the TV. You could see documentaries and news and whatever other programs about any terrorists and how they tried to connect these attacks to Islam and Muslims, and they were blaming Islam for it, and they were saying they're terrorists and they're bad for women and all these kinds of weird stuff. And then again, there was also these documentaries about Islam as its pure form. People were praying. I remember seeing a documentary that people were praying. And actually that day I had just watched something about the 9/11 and then switched a channel, and there was a documentary about people praying. Muslims were praying and they were bowing down. And I remember feeling that it was very contradicting and very strange that how could a person who is so serene in their prayer, how could a religion which encourages this type of piety and this type of humbleness be associated with something so horrible and something so violent? So it just seemed weird for me at the age of 14. It just seemed like didn't add up. There's one of the other story is not correct. But then it just I didn't stop to think about it that much, but I was just going on with my life and just living my life normally. I lived in a small town, or we lived in a small town outside of Helsinki at that time. And in our city or in our town, we didn't have any Muslims there, or at least I never encountered Muslims. I never had talked with Muslims before. I've never really even seen a Muslim before. The only time I remember seeing a Muslim was when I was about 10 years old, and we were walking through our town and we saw this Muslim lady with a hijab on, and she was pushing a stroller. And my mom commented on her, and she said that oh, poor thing, she felt sorry for the lady. She felt sorry for the lady for basically what she was instilling, that poor lady, that she has to wear that thing and that she has to live in such a suppressive culture or religion. And we didn't know any better back then. We didn't have any idea what her life was, but we just made this judgment based on our preconceived ideas about it. But that was the only time I remember of actually seeing a Muslim, and I felt bad for her. I didn't hate her or anything like that, but I felt bad for her for no reason actually. And how wrong was I when I later found out about Islam, really. Fast forward to when I was 15, I remember watching something again. There was a program about 9/11 again in the TV, and I was watching it. And then I was saying to my mom, and I was kind of rebellious at the time. I was like the different teenager. I was standing out from the crowd already. I didn't want to be the conventional way anyways, and I was a little bit rebellious towards the society anyway. So I just made this comment, half jokingly, to my mom: what if we convert to Islam? Haha, what if we convert to Islam? What if we become Muslims suddenly? And she surprised me by being completely serious, looking at me with a completely serious face and saying, I've been actually thinking about that. And I was like, seriously? What are you saying? Seriously? For reals? What's going on? What's going on in here? And she said, yeah, I've been reading about it and it seems pretty cool. It seems like something real. So she showed me this website in Finnish that had basic information about Islam. And I went to check it myself. And the first thing I checked was the status of women, or what is the status of women in Islam? Because I was raised by an extremely feminist, strong Finnish woman. a single mother, and who had been experiencing domestic violence in the past. And I was taught that, you don't take that type of nonsense from men. So oppression was not an option in our household or to me in any way. So I went to check the status of women, because yes, I had heard some type of opinion of teachers in school about that, but I wanted to read about it myself now that my mom showed this website. So I went and read about it, and I found out that everything that I knew or thought I knew about Islam and Muslims was not real, was fabricated. That woman is really appreciated in Islam, especially mothers are extremely appreciated in Islam, and they are to be treated well and with respect. They are responsible of their own actions, and they are equal in the sight of God with men. So your sin is the same as a man's sin, and your good deed is exactly as good as the man's good deed. And one of the biggest things that I think really affected me after that was that the story of Adam and Eve, the first two human beings ever created, Adam and Eve, and how they made a sin by eating from a tree. I have learned the Christian narrative about that, and now I learned the Islamic narrative about that. An Islamic narrative is that they were both responsible from eating from the tree, and no one over the other was to blame more than the other. So they both were responsible of their actions. It doesn't matter who did it first, they are both responsible for their actions of eating from the tree, and they are both as guilty, and they are both to be forgiven for their sins because they repented to God about that. So that was like the biggest thing, I think, for me, was that Eve was not put down as this deceitful woman who lured Adam alayhi salam to do the sin. That was a huge thing for me, and I've never heard that description before. So that really, really affected me as a feminist woman back in the day. So I think that was the biggest thing. After that, the next biggest thing was, for me, I was checking the dietary rulings, because I kind of knew a little bit that they don't eat pork, the Muslims don't eat pork. So I thought that, okay, I'm gonna check. I was like, okay, you don't eat pork, you don't drink alcohol. The alcohol was nothing for me. I knew a lot of teenagers my age back in the days used to drink in our town, but that was nothing for me, so that was easy for me to disregard. And so I just decided that the pork was an issue. What way it was an issue, I wanted to check if McDonald's hamburgers had pork in them. Because I was like, I can't live without my hamburgers. This is going to be very tough if McDonald's is selling pork hamburgers. But alhamdulillah, all was well, and they have 100% beef at the time. At the time I said, I wasn't so into the details of halal meat and all these type of things. It was just like, these were the two most important things for me: women's rights and hamburgers. So yeah, you could say that my priorities were balanced, I could say. So anyway, I decided that, okay, this is easy. I can do this. I can skip the pork. I'm not gonna miss it. It's okay. Most of the food I can eat. So it's kind of easy. So I can do it. After that, I checked how to do shahada, how to do your declaration of faith. And in Islam, it's the most important thing is that it is between you and God. We call Allah, because Allah, you cannot put feminine or masculine from Allah. It's just one God. Al-Ilah, Allah means one God, worthy of worship. So it was just between me and God. So I said the Shahada, the declaration of faith, in my room, and just decided to become Muslim that day. But it was not that straightforward, now that I know. It was just the beginning of my journey with Islam. It was just, the seed was planted in my heart, and that was the start of my journey. I remember my mom, she started practicing more, she started wearing the garments, and she started learning how to pray. I was more like telling people that I'm a Muslim now, and I don't eat pork, but I was just living a normal teenager's life. I was very naive. I was healing from all kinds of things in the days, which I'm gonna maybe talk about in another video, inshallah. But for me, it was just seed was planted, and it was starting to like grow its roots inside there and flourish from there. I wasn't practicing in any way. I was just absent. What is that called? What's that word? Abstaining. I was just abstaining from pork. I hope that's the right word. And just kind of let it mold that little by little, taking seeds from here and there, information from here and there, and just kind of growing as a person. I was still young, and I was still very broken person. So it was just for me healing as a person and then growing as a Muslim. So I was 15, like I said, when I became Muslim, or when I said my Shahada, my declaration of faith. I didn't practice much, but it was starting to grow. I went to a different city. I went to Helsinki to study high school. And I was just growing and learning and healing as a person. But I was living like a normal teenager. You wouldn't have recognized me as a Muslim or to be a Muslim if you would have seen it in the streets. You wouldn't have recognized that. But I kind of observed the religion from my mom, from my mom's actions and from my mom's interactions with people and these things. So it's kind of like it grew up in my head. When I was around 18, I had already known, this is, don't take any inspiration from these, like this is not good, but I had known a man, a Muslim man from online, who had connections to Finland, and I had known him for a couple of years as a friend or whatever, chit-chatty. Like I said, I was not practicing, don't take any hints from this. When I was 18, I started having feelings for him. But back in the day, I remember that even I was not practicing Muslim, and he was not certainly practicing Muslim at all. So I anyway felt that we can't be together, we can't have this type of relationship unless we are married. So we decided to get married, and I was like 19 when we got married in Egypt. He was Egyptian, non-practicing, really non-practicing, not even praying or anything like that. And I was not practicing either. So it wasn't bothering me. I was just like, I don't want to live in the sin of relations outside marriage. But so we got married. And that day, somehow, I can't explain it in any other way except Allah put a seed in my heart, and like a seed of love towards Islam and love to learn more knowledge about Islam into my heart, because it sparked something inside me which is gonna go into my hijab story, which is gonna start my hijab story and continue my journey with Islam. Hijab story, it's gonna be another video, so be on the lookout for that. So we're gonna continue the story in that. But I hope this kind of gives you the base and the background information about how I became Muslim, how I get to know Islam, and how was my journey. The first couple of steps with Islam was not so great, but inshallah it's going to get better. So